A major meeting. Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh is set to meet with West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin later today. Manchin expected to be a pivotal vote for Kavanaugh's confirmation this fall. Here now, Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Napolitano. Well, so what do you think Manchin wants out of this one?
Votes from in his very difficult contest with the Republican Attorney General of West Virginia, a Jersey guy who moved south because it's a very tight race. Look, this is the intersection of the judiciary and politics, when senators can decide that it is in their best interest, their interest in keeping their job, to vote against what the majority of their party wants. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Manchin, along with 2 or 3 other Democrats running for re-election, tough races in states that President Trump carried by heavy margins, vote for Judge Kavanaugh. I also think that Judge Kavanaugh does not need a single Democratic vote, because I think all the Republicans will vote for him, John McCain not voting, and that will give them the 51 votes that they need. If that happens, you know this better than I, then it's easy and comfortable for Manchin and the others to vote for him. It lets them score points at home, and they weren't the tipping point. Now, if Rand Paul and Mike Lee and some of the libertarians pull away from Brett Kavanaugh, excuse me, then Mitch McConnell must have those Democrats, otherwise the nomination loses. But I don't see that happening.
Lee?
Yeah, I'm just really curious what you think that they might uncover in this that might cause concern about this, Justice. Is there anything?
Well, there are Republicans, I among them, who object to Judge Kavanaugh's views on the Fourth Amendment. I have characterized Judge Kavanaugh's nomination as the exact opposite of the type of person President Trump nominated in Neil Gorsuch and said he would nominate. This judge is from the heart and soul of the Washington establishment. His entire life, with the exception of his 7 years at Yale, we'll grant him those 7 years at Yale. You're wearing Yale blue today, by the way.
Not on purpose.
Has been spent as part of that Washington establishment. The particular sticking point with Senator Paul and Senator Lee and those of us that believe the Constitution means what it says is the Fourth Amendment, because Judge Kavanaugh has written that intelligence is not covered by the Fourth Amendment, meaning the NSA can spy all it likes. The Fourth Amendment only regulates law enforcement. That is not so, and with the exception of his opinion, there's no opinion holding that.
But still, though, there's a lot of confidence about this, about Kavanaugh's confirmation.
Yes.
Maria spoke with the vice president, obviously.
I think the vice president is correct. I don't think they're even, as I said, they're even going to need Democratic votes.
Listen to what he told her about the nomination. Listen to this.
For the President of the United States, in this deliberation, he was looking for a judge with extraordinary credentials and intellect, but also a judge who would strictly interpret the Constitution as written and not legislate from the bench. Judge Brett Kavanaugh has that judicial philosophy, and we remain confident that before the fall is out, that Judge Brett Kavanaugh will be Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
I think he's correct in that he will be on the bench before the first Monday in October, which is when the new Supreme Court session begins. I just don't think that Chuck Schumer has unless they discover something in his background that none of us knows about that is disabling, I don't think Chuck Schumer has the muscle.
Aaron, what does that mean for the midterms, though? That's going to be right before the midterms.
I mean, well, I actually have a question for you, Your Honor, about the midterms, actually. Well, not really. What do you think is going to happen coming down the pike? What cases, you're really worried about this Fourth Amendment issue, what cases do you see that they could hear as the next Supreme Court?
Well, not before the midterm, but they will eventually be hearing, I'm holding up my iPhone, whether or not the computer chip in this iPhone is protected by the Fourth Amendment, whether the government needs a warrant in order to get into or get access to this iPhone. The cases are all over the place. Now, I once asked Justice Scalia about this, and he said to me, I don't think I should answer because I know that case, I asked him this in front of an audience, that case is making its way to the Supreme Court.
Wow.
So that will probably make its way to the Supreme Court, assuming he's confirmed in the next 2 months, in his first year on the bench.
I have to ask you about Milady Ruth Bader Ginsburg. All right, she is now saying that she's got 5 more years on the bench. That's according to CNN. What do you make about that?
Well, I mean, she once said if Donald Trump was elected president, she would move to Canada. I don't see her leaving voluntarily, and I don't know where the number 5 came from. She is really up there in years. The oldest justice we ever had was Oliver Wendell Holmes, who went on at 63 and retired at 93. So she still has a little ways to go. If she wants
85.
to make that
Right.
record, she's only 85.
I think all that wine's keeping her young.
Well,
Her new movie career, I think, is what's keeping her
she's
young.
the
Right. And
justice
the-
version
and
of
the
Galley.
Calisthenics, right? She does calisthenics in her
I've seen her.
office.
We've all seen her lifting weights. She does those exercises every day.
Yeah.
Wine and exercise.
Yeah. There you go. Wine and exercise, Judge.
Not a bad combination.
No, not at all.
Even at 7:45 in the morning.
At least I got one of the two down.
And there's food on the show as well, normally.
Right.
So stand by for
Where's
that.
that cheesecake?
I know. Where's the cheesecake? Judge, thank you so much. It's
You're
good to have
welcome.
you here.
Pleasure.
Always.